Jake Matthews stood at the window of the research station and watched the morning sun rise over the rocky hills. He had been working at the Kepler research station for 2 years now. The station was far from any city or town. Only 12 people lived and worked there. Jake's job was to study the air and water around the station. It was quiet work, but he liked it. The coffee maker beeped behind him. Jake poured himself a cup and walked back to his desk. He had readings to check from the night before. Everything looked normal. The air was clean. The water was pure. Just another ordinary day. Then the alarm started screaming. Jake dropped his coffee cup. The hot liquid spilled across his papers. Red lights flashed on every wall. The station's computer voice spoke in a calm tone that did not match the chaos of the alarms. Unknown object detected. Impact in 30 seconds. Jake ran to the main window. In the distance, he could see something falling from the sky. It was not very big, but it was moving fast. Smoke trailed behind it like a long gray ribbon. The object hit the ground about a mile from the station. The impact shook the building. Books fell from shelves. Pictures rattled on the walls. "Everyone to the safe room." Commander Lisa Parker's voice came over the speakers. "This is not a drill." Jake started toward the safe room with the others, but something made him stop. Through the window, he could see smoke rising from where the object had crashed. What if someone was hurt? What if they needed help? He looked around. The other researchers were already in the safe room. No one would notice if he slipped out for just a few minutes. Jake grabbed his jacket and the medical kit from the wall. He knew he was breaking the rules, but he could not just wait and do nothing. He opened the back door and ran toward the crash site. The ground was rough and covered with sharp rocks. Jake had to be careful not to trip. As he got closer, he could see the object more clearly. It was definitely a ship, but not like any ship he had ever seen. The metal was a strange silver color that seemed to change in the light. Strange symbols were carved into the sides. Part of the ship had broken open. Jake could see inside. There were lights still blinking, but no sound came from within. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone there? I'm here to help." At first, nothing happened. Then Jake heard a small sound. It was like crying, but very quiet. He moved closer to the broken opening in the ship. "It's okay," he called softly. "I won't hurt you. Are you injured?" A small figure appeared in the opening. Jake's breath caught in his throat. It was a child, but unlike any child he had ever seen. Her skin was light blue, almost like the color of ice. Her hair was white as snow and fell in soft waves around her face. Her eyes were large and golden, like pieces of amber. She looked to be about 6 years old. She wore a simple white dress that seemed to glow slightly. Her feet were bare. She had cuts on her arms and legs from the crash, but she did not seem badly hurt. The moment she saw Jake, her golden eyes went wide. Her face lit up with joy and relief. She scrambled out of the ship and ran toward him as fast as her small legs could carry her. "Papa!" she cried in perfect English. "Papa, you came for me!" Before Jake could react, she threw her small arms around his legs and held on tight. She was crying, but they seemed to be happy tears. She looked up at him with those amazing golden eyes and smiled. "I knew you would find me, Papa. I knew you would come." Jake stood frozen. He had never seen this child before in his life. He had no children. He had never even been married. But somehow this little alien girl knew him. She knew him and called him Papa like she had been waiting for him her whole life. "I think there's been a mistake," Jake said gently. He knelt down so he was at her eye level. "I'm not your papa. My name is Jake. What's your name?" The little girl tilted her head to one side. She looked confused for a moment. Then she smiled again and touched his face with her small blue hand. "You are Jake Matthews," she said. "You work with water and air. You like coffee with lots of cream. You have a scar on your hand from when you fell off your bike when you were 7. Your favorite color is green. And you are my papa." Jake stared at her. Everything she had said was true. But how could she possibly know those things? How could she know about the scar on his hand or how he liked his coffee? "How do you know all that?" he whispered. The little girl looked sad for a moment. "I have always known you, Papa. Even when I was far away in the bad place, I could feel you here." She pressed her small hand against her chest. "You were always here, in my heart." Jake did not understand what was happening, but he could not deny the feeling that washed over him when he looked at this strange little girl. Despite everything that made no sense, despite the fact that she was clearly not human, he felt protective of her. He felt like he needed to keep her safe. In the distance, he could hear vehicles starting up at the station. Lisa and the others would be coming soon. They would have questions he could not answer. They would want to take the girl away, to study her, to lock her up until they understood what she was. Jake made a decision that would change his life forever. He picked up the little alien girl and held her close. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Zara," she whispered against his shoulder. "My name is Zara, Papa." "Okay, Zara," Jake said. "Let's go home." Jake carried Zara back to the research station. She felt so light in his arms, like she weighed almost nothing. Her blue skin was warm to the touch, and she smelled like flowers after rain. She had stopped crying and now rested her white-haired head against his shoulder. As they approached the station, Jake could see the other researchers gathered outside. Commander Lisa Parker stood with her hands on her hips, looking very angry. Dr. Amy Chen, the team's science expert, held a scanner in her hands. The others stood behind them, all staring as Jake walked up with the alien child. "Jake Matthews," Lisa said in a sharp voice. "What do you think you're doing? You broke direct orders. You could have been killed." "She's just a child," Jake said. "She was hurt and scared. I couldn't leave her there." "That thing is not a child," Lisa replied. "It's an unknown alien life form. It could be dangerous. It could carry diseases. You've put everyone at risk." Zara lifted her head from Jake's shoulder and looked at Lisa with her golden eyes. "Hello," she said in her small, clear voice. "My name is Zara. Please don't be angry with Papa. He was only trying to help me." The word Papa made everyone freeze. Dr. Chen stepped forward with her scanner beeping rapidly. "Jake," Amy said slowly, "did you tell her to call you that?" "No," Jake said. "She called me that the moment she saw me. I've never seen her before in my life." Lisa's expression grew more serious. "Everyone inside. Now. We need to figure out what's going on here." They all went into the station's main room. Jake sat down in a chair with Zara on his lap. She seemed comfortable there, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Amy began scanning Zara with different machines while the other researchers watched from a safe distance. "Her body temperature is normal," Amy reported. "Her heart rate is steady. She appears to be healthy despite the crash." Amy paused and looked at her scanner with confusion. "But these readings are impossible." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "Her DNA," Amy said. "It's not entirely alien. Part of it matches human DNA patterns. Very specific human DNA patterns." Amy looked directly at Jake. "Jake, I need to scan you too." Jake felt nervous but nodded. Amy ran the scanner over his arm and waited for the results. When the machine beeped, her face went white. "This can't be right," Amy whispered. "According to this, she shares about 40% of Jake's genetic markers." "That would make her his daughter," Lisa finished. "But that's impossible. Jake, have you ever donated genetic material? Ever been part of any experiments?" "No," Jake said firmly. "Never. I would remember something like that." Zara looked up at Jake with her big golden eyes. "Papa, do you remember when you were 8 years old and you got very sick? You had to go to the big white building with lots of doctors?" Jake's blood went cold. He did remember that. He had gotten a rare blood infection when he was 8. He had spent 2 weeks in the hospital. The doctors had run many tests and taken lots of blood samples. "How could you possibly know about that?" Jake asked. Instead of answering, Zara slipped off his lap and walked to the art supplies on the shelf. She picked up some paper and colored pencils and began to draw. Her small hands moved quickly and surely across the paper. When she finished, she brought the drawing back to Jake. Everyone gathered around to look. The picture showed a small house with a red roof and blue shutters. There was a big oak tree in the front yard, and a tire swing hanging from one of the branches. Behind the house was a lake with a small dock. "That's my childhood home," Jake said in a voice barely above a whisper. "That's exactly what it looked like." "But how—" "Papa used to sit under the big tree and read books," Zara said. "Sometimes he would swing on the tire swing until Grandma called him in for dinner. And on Sunday mornings, Papa and Grandpa would go fishing at the lake behind the house." Jake felt like the world was spinning around him. His grandparents had died when he was 12. He had never told anyone at the station about the tire swing or the Sunday fishing trips. These were private memories from his childhood. "Tell me about Grandma," Jake said, testing her. Zara smiled. "Grandma made the best apple pie in the whole world. She had gray hair that she wore in a bun, and she always smelled like vanilla and cinnamon. She used to sing to Papa when he couldn't sleep." Zara began to hum a soft melody. Jake's heart almost stopped. It was his grandmother's lullaby, the one she used to sing to him when he had bad dreams. He had not heard that song in over 20 years. "This is impossible," Lisa said. "Jake, she's either reading your mind or someone has been watching you your whole life." "Or," Amy said quietly, "the genetic connection is real. Somehow, some way, this child really is related to Jake." Over the next few hours, Zara continued to amaze everyone. She knew things no one should know. She drew pictures of Jake's first pet, a golden retriever named Buddy. She knew that Jake had broken his arm when he was 10 trying to climb the neighbor's fence. She even knew his mother's maiden name was Rodriguez. But Zara also showed abilities that were clearly not human. When Amy's scanner stopped working, Zara simply touched it and it started working again. When the lights in the room flickered, Zara looked at them and they became steady. She seemed to understand how machines worked just by being near them. "I can feel the electricity," Zara explained when Amy asked her about it. "It talks to me. All the machines here are friendly. They want to help." Dr. Chen ran more tests throughout the day. She discovered that Zara's brain worked differently than a human brain. She could process information much faster, and parts of her brain that humans didn't use were very active. "She's like a human child, but enhanced," Amy explained to the group. Stronger, smarter, more connected to the world around her. As evening came, Zara grew tired. Jake found some blankets and made a bed for her on the couch in his office. As he tucked her in, she looked up at him with sleepy golden eyes. "Papa," she said softly, "I was in the bad place for a long time. The other people there, they didn't look like you. They were tall and gray and their eyes were black. They did things that hurt, but I always remembered you. I always knew that someday you would find me." "What bad place?" Jake asked. "Who were these people?" But Zara was already asleep, her white hair spread across the pillow like starlight. Jake sat in a chair next to the couch and watched her sleep. Nothing about this made sense, but he could not shake the feeling that she really was his daughter. Not in the way people usually had children, but in some deeper way that he did not understand. Outside, the first stars were appearing in the dark sky. Jake wondered if somewhere up there other ships were looking for the little girl who called him Papa. And if they were, what would they do when they found her? Jake woke up to the sound of screaming alarms. Red lights flashed through his office window. He jumped up from the chair where he had fallen asleep watching Zara. The little girl was already awake, sitting up on the couch with fear in her golden eyes. "They found me," she whispered. "The gray ones. They came back for me." Before Jake could ask what she meant, Commander Lisa's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel to stations. We have multiple unknown vessels approaching. This is not a drill." Jake picked up Zara and ran to the main control room. Through the big windows, he could see 3 large ships hovering in the sky above the station. They were dark and shaped like triangles with no visible engines or windows. They made no sound as they hung in the air. "Where did they come from?" Dr. Chen asked. "Our sensors didn't detect anything until they were right on top of us." "Their ships are better than ours," Zara said quietly. "Much better. The gray ones have been traveling between stars for a very long time." One of the ships began to lower toward the ground. As it came closer, Jake could see that the bottom was opening like a mouth. A beam of white light shot down from the opening. "They're scanning us," Lisa said, looking at her instruments. "Reading everything in the station." The light moved across the building and stopped when it reached the control room. Jake felt a strange tingling sensation as the light passed over them. Zara buried her face against his shoulder and shook with fear. "Please don't let them take me back, Papa," she whispered. "Please." The light disappeared and the ship moved away from the station. But it did not leave. All 3 ships formed a circle around the research station and waited. "What do they want?" Lisa asked. "They want me," Zara said. "I ran away from them. They don't like it when their property escapes." "Property?" Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "You're not property. You're a little girl." "Not to them," Zara said sadly. "To them I'm just an experiment." Like all the others, a new sound filled the air. It was a voice, but not coming from any radio or speaker. It seemed to speak directly into their minds. The voice was cold and emotionless. "Return the escaped specimen. Interference will result in consequences." Lisa grabbed the radio. "This is Commander Parker of the Kepler Research Station. We are a peaceful scientific outpost. The child is under our protection." The voice spoke again. "The specimen belongs to the collective. Return it now or face destruction. Jake felt Zara trembling in his arms. He looked down at her pale blue face and made a decision. Tell them no, he said to Lisa. Jake, we can't fight those ships, Lisa said. We don't even have weapons. Tell them no, Jake repeated. Lisa looked at him for a long moment, then picked up the radio again. Negative. The child stays with us. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then one of the ships began to descend again. But this time a door opened in its side. A ramp extended down to the ground and figures began walking down it. Jake had never seen anything like them. They were tall, much taller than humans, with gray skin that looked wet and smooth. Their heads were too big for their bodies, and their eyes were completely black with no white parts at all. They had no hair, and their mouths were just thin lines across their faces. They wore simple gray clothing and moved in perfect unison, like they were all thinking the same thoughts. 5 of them, Lisa counted. They're heading for the main entrance. The aliens walked to the station's front door and stopped. One of them placed its hand on the door and Jake heard the electronic lock click open. How did they do that? Amy asked. They can control machines with their minds, Zara said. Just like I can, but they're much stronger. The aliens entered the station. Jake could hear their footsteps in the hallway, slow and steady. They were coming to the control room. Hide her, Lisa whispered to Jake. Take her to the storage room in the back. Jake carried Zara quickly down the hallway to a small room filled with supplies. He set her down behind some boxes and knelt beside her. Stay here and be very quiet, he whispered. I'll come back for you. Papa, I need to tell you something important, Zara said urgently. I'm not the only one. There are thousands of us, thousands of children like me. What do you mean? The gray ones, they call themselves the Collective. They take humans from your world and use them to make new people. They want to understand why humans are special. Jake felt sick. Special how? Humans can change and learn faster than any other people in the galaxy. Zara explained quickly. When things get difficult, humans find new ways to solve problems. The Collective has been studying this for many years. They take human DNA and mix it with other species to create children like me. They used my DNA to create you. Yes, Papa. When you were sick as a child, the doctors took samples of your blood. Some of those samples were taken by the Collective. They used your DNA to make me and others. Jake heard footsteps getting closer. How many others? Dozens from your genetic pattern alone. Thousands more from other humans. Papa, there's a whole place in space where they keep human prisoners and conduct their experiments. They call it the farm. The door to the control room opened. Jake could hear the aliens talking to Lisa and Amy, but their voices were strange, like several people speaking at the same time. Where is the specimen? They asked. I don't know what you're talking about, Lisa replied. You lie. We can sense its presence. Return it now or we will take it by force. Jake heard the sound of struggle, then Amy crying out in pain. He couldn't stay hidden while his friends were being hurt. He stood up to go help them, but Zara grabbed his arm. Papa, wait. There's something else you need to know. The children on the farm, we can all feel each other's thoughts sometimes. We've been planning something. We've been waiting for someone from Earth to help us. Help you do what? Escape, Zara said. All of us. But we need a human to coordinate with. Someone the Collective doesn't control. Someone like you. The voices in the control room were getting louder. Jake could tell his friends were in trouble. We'll talk about this later, Jake said. Right now I need to help Lisa and Amy. But as he started toward the door, it opened. One of the gray aliens stood there looking down at them with its terrible black eyes. It was even more frightening up close. Its skin looked wet and cold and it had no nose, just 2 small holes in its face. Specimen located, it said in that strange multi-voice. Retrieval in progress. The alien reached toward Zara with one long, thin arm. Jake stepped between them. Don't touch her, he said. The alien looked at Jake with what might have been surprise. You have no authority here, human. Stand aside. No, Jake said firmly. She's my daughter and you're not taking her anywhere. The alien tilted its large head to one side. Interesting. The specimen has formed an attachment bond with the genetic donor. This was not predicted. I'm not a specimen, Zara said, stepping out from behind Jake. And he's not just a genetic donor. He's my papa, and I love him. Something changed in the alien's expression. For just a moment it looked confused, like Zara had said something it didn't understand. Love is irrelevant, the alien said finally. You will return to the farm for continued study. No, Zara said quietly. I won't. She reached out and touched the alien's hand. Immediately, the creature began to shake. Its black eyes went wide and it made a sound like screaming without opening its mouth. Sparks began flying from equipment all around the room. What's happening? Jake asked. I'm showing it what love feels like, Zara said. They don't understand it. It's breaking its mind. The alien collapsed to the floor. Smoke was rising from its body. In the distance, Jake could hear the other aliens making similar sounds of distress. Papa, Zara said, looking up at Jake with determination in her golden eyes. I think it's time to go to the farm and free my brothers and sisters. 3 weeks later, Jake stood on the deck of the Earth defense ship Liberty looking out at the stars. It had taken time to convince the military commanders that a rescue mission was possible, but Zara's knowledge of collective technology had changed everything. Are you sure about this? Commander Lisa Parker asked. She had volunteered to come on the mission along with Dr. Amy Chen and pilot Ben Rodriguez. They were the only ones who truly understood what Zara could do. I'm sure, Jake said. We can't leave those people there. And we can't leave all those children. Through the ship's communication system, they had made contact with other hybrid children across the galaxy. Zara had taught Jake how to use a special radio that could reach their minds directly. The children had been waiting for years, planning their escape, sharing information through their connected thoughts. There were over 2,000 hybrid children on the main farm, along with 10,000 human prisoners from Earth. The humans had been taken over many years, stolen from their families and used for experiments. Many didn't even remember their real names anymore. The farm is heavily defended, Ben said, checking his instruments. 5 large warships, hundreds of smaller fighters, and weapon systems we don't understand. But they have a weakness, Zara said. She was sitting next to Jake, looking very small in the adult-sized chair. They don't expect attacks from inside. The hybrid children can control their own technology. When we get close enough, my brothers and sisters will help us. Amy looked at her scanner. We're approaching the coordinates Zara provided. I'm picking up massive energy signatures ahead. Through the main window, Jake could see it. The farm was not a planet, but a huge structure floating in space. It looked like a giant metal city with towers and domes connected by bridges and tubes. Ships moved around it like insects around a nest. At the center was a massive sphere that glowed with a sickly green light. That's where they keep the humans, Zara said, pointing at the sphere. And the smaller buildings around it are where we children live. How many guards? Lisa asked. Thousands of collective soldiers, Zara replied. But Papa, I need to tell you something. The children and I have been working together through our mind connection. We have a plan, but it's dangerous. What kind of plan? Jake asked. When we get closer, I'll connect with my brothers and sisters. Together we can take control of the farm's main computer system. We can shut down the weapons, open the prison doors, and even control some of their ships. That sounds perfect, Ben said. What's the dangerous part? Zara looked sad. To connect with that many minds at once, I have to let down all my mental shields. The collective will be able to sense me immediately. They'll know exactly where I am. Then we'll protect you, Jake said firmly. Papa, you don't understand. When I connect with the main system, I won't be able to disconnect quickly. I'll be vulnerable for at least 20 minutes. If something happens to me during that time, nothing will happen to you, Jake said. I promise. Their ship moved closer to the farm. Jake could see the collective warships beginning to turn in their direction. Red lights began flashing on their control panels. They've detected us, Amy reported. Multiple ships moving to intercept. Now, Zara, Jake said. Connect with the others now. Zara closed her golden eyes and placed her hands on the ship's control panel. Immediately, lights began flickering all around them. Jake could feel a strange tingling in the air, like electricity before a storm. On the scanner screen, Amy watched in amazement as signals began appearing from all over the farm. I'm reading thousands of individual connections, she said. The children are really doing it. Through the window, Jake could see the collective warships suddenly stopping their approach. Their lights went out one by one. Some of the ships began drifting aimlessly through space. The weapon systems are shutting down, Ben reported with excitement. The hybrid children have taken control of the farm's defenses. But their celebration was short-lived. 3 collective ships that had been farther away came racing toward them, weapons charging with bright blue energy. Some of their ships have backup systems, Lisa said. Systems the children can't control. The enemy ships began firing. Bright blue beams shot past their ship, lighting up the darkness of space. Ben had to steer hard to avoid being hit. "I can't outrun them," Ben shouted. "These ships are too fast." Jake looked at Zara. She was still connected to the farm's systems, her body glowing faintly with energy. Sweat beaded on her blue forehead from the effort of controlling so many systems at once. "How much longer?" Jake asked. 10 more minutes, Zara said without opening her eyes. "I need 10 more minutes to free everyone." Another energy beam hit their ship, making it shake violently. Sparks flew from the control panels. "We're not going to make it," Lisa said. Suddenly, the scanner lit up with new signals. Ships were launching from the farm, but these were different. They were collective ships, but Jake could tell they were being controlled by the hybrid children. "Look," Amy said, pointing out the window. Dozens of ships were rising from the farm and moving to protect Jake's ship. The children inside them were using the collective's own technology against them. The attacking ships found themselves surrounded and outnumbered. "This is amazing," Ben said. "The children are fighting back with ships they've never flown before, and they're winning." Jake watched as the battle unfolded around them. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The hybrid children seemed to understand the alien technology intuitively, flying the complex ships as if they had been born to do it. "The prison doors are opening," Zara said, her voice strained from effort. "The humans are free. But Papa, there are so many of them. They're weak and scared. They don't know where to go." "We'll guide them," Jake said.
"Amy, can you send a signal to all the freed prisoners?"
Amy nodded and opened a communication channel. Jake spoke into the microphone. "This is Jake Matthews from Earth. We're here to take you home. Follow the lights that the children are showing you. Get to the evacuation ships. We're going to get all of you out of here." Through the window, Jake could see streams of people moving through the corridors of the farm. The hybrid children were using the station's own lighting system to guide the prisoners to safety. But something was wrong. Zara suddenly cried out in pain and opened her eyes. "Papa," she gasped. "Something big is coming. The collective's main fleet. They're going to destroy the whole farm rather than let everyone escape." Jake looked at the long-range scanner. Amy was right. Massive ships were approaching from deep space, much larger than anything they had seen before. "How long until they get here?" Lisa asked. 5 minutes, Amy said. "And when they arrive, they'll have enough firepower to destroy everything in this area." Jake looked at Zara, then at his friends, then at the thousands of people who were still escaping from the farm. In 5 minutes, they would all be dead unless someone stopped the collective fleet. "The children have an idea," Zara said weakly, "but you're not going to like it." "What idea?" Jake asked. "All of us children working together, we might be able to take control of the biggest collective ship when it arrives. But to do that, we'd have to link our minds completely. We'd become one giant mind, sharing all our thoughts and abilities." "That sounds dangerous," Lisa said. "It is," Zara admitted. "Once we link like that, we might not be able to separate again. We might stop being individual people and become something new. Something that's never existed before." Jake felt his heart breaking. "Zara, I just found you." "I can't lose you now." "Papa," Zara said softly, "sometimes love means letting go. If we don't do this, everyone dies. All the humans, all the children, everyone." Jake knelt down and hugged his daughter tightly. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Zara said. "But Papa, even if I change, even if I become part of something bigger, I'll still love you. That part of me will never change." The collective fleet was getting closer. Jake could see the massive ships on the scanner, weapons already charging for the attack that would destroy everything. "Do it," Jake whispered. "Save everyone." Zara smiled at him one last time, then closed her eyes and reached out to her brothers and sisters across the galaxy. The moment Zara connected with all the hybrid children across the galaxy, everything changed. Jake felt the air around him become electric. Every screen in the ship began showing the same thing. Thousands of young faces, all with different colored skin and eyes, but all looking determined and brave. "We are ready," they said in perfect unison, their voices coming from every speaker. "We will protect our families." Jake watched through the window as the massive collective fleet approached. The lead ship was the size of a small moon, covered with weapons that could destroy entire planets. But as it came closer, something unexpected happened. The ship's lights began flickering, its weapons powered down. The massive vessel slowed to a stop, hanging dead in space like a giant metal boulder. "What's happening?" Commander Lisa asked. "The children?" Amy said, staring at her instruments in amazement. "They're inside the ship's computer system. They're taking control of everything. One by one, every ship in the collective fleet went dark. The hybrid children had somehow reached across space and taken control of the entire armada. But Jake could see the cost. On the screens around him, many of the young faces were growing pale with effort. "It's too much for them," Jake said. "They're just children." "No, Papa," came Zara's voice from the speakers. But it sounded different now, stronger and more mature. "We're not just children anymore. We're something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before." Through the communication system, Jake could hear what was happening throughout the collective's empire. On planets across the galaxy, hybrid children were taking control of collective installations. They were freeing other prisoners, shutting down the alien experiments, and liberating entire worlds that had been enslaved for centuries. "How are they doing this?" Ben asked. "Human DNA gives us adaptability," Zara's voice explained. "But when we link our minds together, that adaptability becomes something much more powerful. We can understand and control any technology, solve any problem, adapt to any situation." On the main screen, Jake could see the rescued humans from the farm being loaded onto evacuation ships. Thousands of people who had been prisoners for years were finally going home. Many of them were crying with joy. Others looked confused, having almost forgotten what freedom felt like. "The collective is surrendering," Amy reported. "I'm receiving signals from their remaining ships across the galaxy. They're laying down their weapons. What will happen to them?" Lisa asked. "We will not hurt them," the children's unified voice replied. "But they will never again be allowed to harm others. We are teaching them a new way to think, a way based on cooperation instead of domination." Jake felt proud but also sad. The children had saved everyone, but in doing so, they had become something beyond individual people. They were now a collective mind like the aliens had been, but based on love instead of control. "Zara," Jake said to the screen, "are you still there? Are you still my daughter?" The unified voice became gentler, more familiar. "I'm here, Papa, we're all still here, but we're also more than we were before. I can feel the love of every human parent who ever lived. I can feel the dreams of every child who ever wished for a better world. Will I ever see you again? The real you?" The screen changed, and suddenly Jake was looking at Zara's face. She looked the same, but her golden eyes held wisdom that went far beyond her years. "Papa, I need you to do something for me, for all of us." "Anything," Jake said. "Go home to Earth. Help the rescued humans find their families again. Many of them have been gone for so long that their loved ones think they're dead. They'll need someone to help them adjust to being free. What about you? My brothers and sisters and I have work to do. There are still other cruel empires out there, other people who need to be freed. But Papa will always be connected to Earth, will always protect humanity." The screen showed images from across the galaxy. The hybrid children were using collective technology to build new colonies, to restore damaged planets, to create a better universe for everyone. "We're going to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else," Zara said. "Every species in the galaxy will be free to choose their own path." Over the following months, Jake kept his promise. He helped establish the Homecoming Center on Earth, a place where rescued humans could get medical care and help finding their families. Many of the returnees had been gone for decades. Some had children and grandchildren who had never known them. Jake's work was rewarding but difficult. Many of the rescued humans had been through terrible experiences. They needed time to heal, time to remember what it felt like to be free. But there were also moments of incredible joy. Jake was there when a woman named Mary found out her daughter, who she thought had died in a car accident 20 years ago, was actually alive and coming home. He was there when an elderly man discovered that his grandson, taken as a baby, was now a grown man with a family of his own. 3 months after the rescue, Jake received a message that made his heart race. It was from Zara. "Papa, can you come to Lake Morrison, the one behind your childhood home? I have something to show you." Jake drove to the lake where he used to fish with his grandfather. It looked exactly the same as it had when he was a boy. The water was calm and blue, reflecting the afternoon sky. The old dock still extended into the water, weathered but sturdy. As Jake walked down the dock, he saw a familiar figure sitting at the end with a fishing pole in her hands. It was Zara, looking exactly as she had when they first met. Her blue skin gleamed in the sunlight and her white hair flowed in the gentle breeze. "Hello, Papa," she said, turning to smile at him. Jake ran to her and hugged her tightly. "How are you here?" I thought you were part of the collective mind now. I am, Zara said. But being part of something bigger doesn't mean I stop being me. It just means I'm more than I was before. I can be with my brothers and sisters across the galaxy, and I can also be here with you. They sat together on the dock, fishing in comfortable silence. Jake could hardly believe it was real. After everything they had been through, here they were, just a father and daughter spending time together. Tell me about the other children, Jake said. Are they happy? Very happy, Zara replied. We're learning so much about the universe. And we're helping so many people. Did you know there are over 3 million species in our galaxy? Most of them are good and kind. But some were afraid of the collective for so long that they forgot how to be free. And you're teaching them? We're learning from each other, Zara said. That's the human way, isn't it? To grow stronger by working together instead of trying to control others. As the sun began to set, painting the lake in shades of gold and orange, Jake felt a peace he had never known before. His daughter was safe. The humans who had been prisoners were free, and somewhere among the stars other hybrid children were making sure that the galaxy would be a better place for everyone. Papa, Zara said softly, I know this all started because someone stole your DNA and used it to create me. But I want you to know that I'm grateful it happened. Not for the pain and suffering, but because it brought us together. I'm grateful too, Jake said. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. And you gave me the greatest gift of all, Zara said. You taught me what love feels like. That's what made all the difference. Love is what makes humans special. It's what made us children strong enough to save everyone. They fished until the stars came out, talking about everything and nothing. When it was time to go, Zara hugged Jake one more time. I have to return to my work now, she said. But I'll visit you again soon, and Papa, look up at the stars sometimes and remember that your children are up there, making the universe a safer place for everyone. Jake watched as Zara walked back up the dock. For just a moment she seemed to glow with inner light. Then she was gone, but Jake didn't feel sad. He knew she would keep her promise. He looked up at the night sky, full of more stars than he could count. Somewhere up there, thousands of hybrid children who carried human DNA were building a better future. They were his children too, in a way. All of them were humanity's children, spreading the best parts of what it meant to be human throughout the galaxy. For the first time in his life, Jake truly understood what it meant to be proud of being human. Not because humans were perfect, but because they never stopped trying to make things better. And now, thanks to Zara and her brothers and sisters, that human spirit would shine among the stars forever.